Ready? Take one. What's up, Keystone students? Welcome to Crew Online. My name is Kris. I'm so excited that you have chosen to join us today. If this is your first time for Crew Online, we want to say welcome. You're our VIP. Every week we have new people tuning in. We are so excited to have you join us. Also want to tell you, if you're on your phone, your laptop, whatever, give us a comment in the chat section. We want to hear from you. Comment your crew color, comment what you've been up to today. We want to hear what's going on. And if something during our time together sticks out to you, put it in the comments. We want to hear from you. And hey, you throw a comment out there, you may just have something like maybe a pizza showing up at your house this week. So comment, get active on that comment section. Say hi to your friends right now. Well, today we are talking about those things in our life, those situations in our life, those things that go on that just kind of stick with us. They're those things that we just can't seem to shake, those struggles, those hardships, those things that just kind of stick with us, and they feel like they just pierce in your gut. Well, this guy, Paul, he wrote most of the Bible. The Apostle Paul, he wrote a lot of the New Testament of the Bible. And in one of his books, 2 Corinthians, he was writing a letter to the church at Corinth. And he talked about this thorn in his flesh. He gives us this word picture of what it means to have something kind of stuck up in your side, something that you just can't quite get rid of. And have you ever had that moment where you get something like stuck in your finger or stuck in your hand, and you're just picking at it and you can't quite get it to go away? Well, I had one of those moments. I was walking one time on a deck and I had some flip-flops on. And it's a wood deck, and maybe you know where I'm going right now, but you know how the wood on a deck, it'll start to splinter a little bit as it gets weathered. Well, I was walking on this deck, and right under my big toenail, a huge piece of wood, a huge splinter stuck right up under my toenail. And yeah, if you're wincing right now, yeah, it hurt really bad. It was so bad that I couldn't pick it out myself. I actually had to go to the doctor and get surgery on my toe to get this thorn out. It was that deep under my toenail. It hurt so bad, like my stomach is hurting right now. And that picture of something just kind of getting stuck where it shouldn't be, that's the kind of picture that we have in our head when we hear about a thorn in our side, when we hear about these things that go on in our life that we just can't seem to get rid of. I've had those times in my life where something happens, something is going on that I just can't seem to get my mind off of it. I can't seem to get past it. And Paul identifies with that when we read in 2 Corinthians. It's in chapter 12, and it starts in verse 7. You see, what had happened was Paul had this vision with God. He had this moment with God where he had this supernatural experience that he says, if I were to tell you about it, you would start thinking that I was some type of a God. And he says that he was actually given this thorn in his side to let people, so that he didn't talk about the vision that he had seen. He was actually able to focus on this other thing so that he didn't have people focusing on him, because he did not want the focus put on him. He wanted the focus put on God. So he had this thorn in his side, and as he describes this situation that he was going through, we don't know what it is, so whatever your situation is, you could just apply it to you as well. But he's got this situation happening in his life, this thorn in his side, and when he talks about it, he says this in 2 Corinthians 12, the second half of verse 7, he says, "So to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. But each time God said to me, 'My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness.' So now I am glad to boast about my weakness so that the power of Christ can work through me. And what a perspective that Paul took there. You see, many times we have kind of two choices, two perspectives that we can take. We can take the perspective of, am I trying to tackle this thorn on my own? Am I trying to remove this by myself? Am I trying to use all the self-help options that I have? Or am I turning to God and letting God's power work through me? You see, some signs of trying to tackle things on your own, of tackling things from kind of a self-centered view, is are you saying, well, if I just try harder, or if I have the power within me, I just have to do a little better, or maybe I just have to be a better Christian, or maybe I have to take some type of a medicine to get me through this situation. I've got to turn to maybe some type of a substance or doing something. Maybe I've got to just put on my bootstraps and pick them up a little harder. You see, all of those are a sign of doing things on our own. And yes, some of those perspectives can be helpful, but when we do them by ourselves and then they don't work, what do? We're left to focus on ourselves and look at ourselves and say, well, clearly I'm not good enough. And it's such an empty perspective to have. But the other option that we have available to us for when we put our trust in Christ, when we begin to find the source of our strength in Jesus and in our relationship with God, and understanding that God has a plan. God has a perspective that is bigger than where we are. All of a sudden, we can begin to take comfort in saying that this situation that I'm in, this struggle that I'm having, this thorn in my side, is something that I've got God's power to help me through. It's something that I can now say, God is walking me through this. It's not all on my own. It's not something that I have to do by myself, but God is walking me through this. And so I want to leave you with these two things. I want to leave you with this. I've got to say that you need to first recognize your weakness. Recognize the weakness. Is the weakness something that you have maybe brought upon yourself? Have you engaged in a pattern of behavior? Have you engaged in a pattern of thoughts or sin or something like that that you have brought upon yourself, that if you just turn to God and allow God to come in and remove that from your life, that all of a sudden that thorn would be gone? Is that a situation that you're in? Or maybe you're in a situation where this weakness is something that is out of your control. Is this a weakness that has been brought upon you that you have to then sit and say, I can't do anything to change my situation, but I can have a different perspective? We see here in verse 8, Paul said he begged God 3 times to take the situation away. But God said, my grace is sufficient. And so when we recognize our weakness, but we turn our hearts to God and let God's strength be enough. Recognize your weakness and then recognize your strength. Is your strength something that you're trying to do on your own? Are you just trying all the different methods of trying to cope with things that you're doing by yourself? Or are you turning to the one who can give you the strength to get through it? Are you allowing for God and your relationship with God through reading your Bible, prayer, time with your crew, the time with us online, worshiping with Keystone Church? Are you allowing God to give you the strength that you need to be able to get through and to allow that thorn, if maybe it doesn't go away, but it's something that you can turn into a gift from God to allow your weakness to be something that brings power to God and gives God glory. So as you guys go off to your crew, hang out together, get in your Zooms, chat together, and we'll see you guys next week.